Yes, guys, welcome back to Chasing Green Arrows. We are live on Friday, the 6th of December, as we look forward to another FPL game week. I'm Gianni Battici, and I'm joined by Big Man Backer and first, Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thank you. Yeah, my birthday yesterday, so that was fun.
Happy birthday. Happy belated birthday, Dean.
Thank
Fulham
you.
gave you a nice present.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's gone wrong before on birthdays. I tell you that much. So that was a nice surprise. Yeah, my kids were very, very excited about it and couldn't understand why I wasn't so excited the night before that it was my birthday the next day. So I felt really bad because they were so excited. So I got this like mock excitement when I woke up yesterday morning. The boys came in and they were like, "Dad, it's your birthday." And I was like, yes, it's my birthday. I've waited so long for this moment. It was quite funny. I actually talked myself into being excited for a few hours. It was quite good being a kid again. The good news, guys, is you benefit because I finally got a microphone stand, which I've been too lazy to actually like try and find. Like, I couldn't find one when my microphone snapped, I don't know, over a year ago. And I couldn't find one at the time that would like fix the problem. So I just left it and I've just been like propping it against stuff. I've obviously been holding it for a while. I never bought one. And then my 4-year-old son told my wife, the dad needs a microphone stand. Like, that's what we have to get Dad for his birthday. That's what she said. So I searched Amazon and found, I think, a solution. And that's actually quite good, lads. So here we go. I'm hands-free and happy to have this great gift in front of me.
You sound beautifully clear. Love that. And yeah, you don't have the John Motson look now. Big Man,
No,
exactly. Where's your mic? Do you have like Dean standing or is yours on an arm from an angle somewhere? We never see your mic.
Sorry?
Where's your mic? We never see it. Is it like is it an angle?
No, it's right here.
Okay, yeah. So yours is similar angle to mine then, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's right here. But it's not exactly upright like Dean's.
Yeah, okay. How's my Wi-Fi, guys? Do I sound pretty? Am I right?
Yeah, when you first joined us and we were like backstage a second ago, it was fine. And then as soon as the stream started, you went all pixelated, and I was like, "Oh no, he was not like this 2 seconds ago." But now we've got you clear. At the moment, right now, you're looking clear. I mean, you probably have to explain where you are. It looks like you're in Santa's grotto.
Yeah. I'm in. I mean, I pretty much am. Like, there's going to be people doing their weekly shop behind me. I'm in the village superstore, which isn't my village, but my daughter's at nursery next door. So I didn't want to miss her Christmas carols. So I've decided to come here first, and then I can quickly make it to a Christmas carol service off the back of the stream. But yeah, good to see everyone. And thank you to everyone in
England you're in.
Yeah, I know, right? How are we feeling about FPL this week? Like, are we making moves? Are we rolling? Captaincy feels like a non-debate. I mean, Big Man, let me come to you first. Like, what have you got decisions to make this week or not? Like, I feel like you and I are probably both rolling transfers, are we?
Yeah, I mean, this has probably been the first week in ages where it doesn't really exactly seem as if I have any fires to put out. So I'm going to take the opportunity to roll a transfer this week. But simply because I want to have some kind of flexibility, man. I hate it when I'm playing the game with one free transfer because, especially week after week, I've had to make transfers addressing injuries or other concerns in my team. And this feels like a rare opportunity for me to just sit back and take advantage. And then I can sort of reassess my transfers in the weeks to come. I'm actually a bit concerned about Raul Jimenez. The good part is that I can afford to bench him over the next 2 weeks. So I don't necessarily have to play him, but I really want to talk to Dean about Raul Jimenez, and let's jump into it straight away because I thought that Muniz was nowhere near sort of making the Fulham lineup based on, Raul was playing all right and Fulham were doing well. And the general consensus among Fulham fans is that Muniz is nowhere near the level of Raul, but I think he did an all right job yesterday. So I'm not exactly sure whether Raul comes back in the team. What do you think, Dean?
I mean, I think neither of them are good enough, if I'm totally honest. And I do expect Fulham to sign a new striker in January, and they are looking for a new striker to add.
A first choice striker, a big boy.
They want another challenger, and I think that, I don't know, like big name strikers are hard to find. Jonathan David is the only name I've come across inside that is a good big name that they're looking at. I mean, I think it's highly unlikely that Jonathan David chooses Fulham, given some of the other offers that will be on the table for him at the time when his contract's winding down. But be happy for us to have a go at that. There's a couple of other Brazilian strikers we're looking at and things like that. None of them, apart from David, seem that convincing to me. And that's the problem with Muniz and Raul Jimenez already. They're just not convincing. I mean, they both fit kind of the team structure, and their hold-up play is good and their link-up play is good. They're just not convincing in front of goal. Jimenez looked like he was getting more convincing again. And out of the two, I'd probably trust him more when a big opportunity arises. But in terms of starts, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this was probably just rotation. I think it was probably just thinking that Raul cannot just play every game from here. Like Muniz has to get one. And it wouldn't surprise me if Raul Jimenez is back in the starting lineup for the next one. But do you really still want him? Probably not.
Yeah,
Dean, there was this comment that I read from Marco Silva, in which he basically said that, players, when given an opportunity, need to take it. And that's exactly what Muniz has done. So that was a bit telling to me that he's actually praising him for his performance.
Yeah.
Did he need goals, though? Did he need goals to keep his spot? Because he had a good performance, but Jimenez is a good performances without goals. If Muniz scores a brace, then sure, you should be worried. But surely didn't do enough to take the spot.
The only thing is he's a handful, and obviously when you're playing against Arsenal and that's the next game, he occupies people in a different way to how Raul Jimenez occupies people, and so you would be looking for him to kind of just take people out of position, or at least pin them back, or do something that allows Smith Rowe or Andreas or Iwobi or whoever else to come into those gaps centrally. Like that's what he'll be looking for from those players. And yeah, Muniz can do that. And he has actually in the past, he has picked Muniz for big fixtures like this before, even when he wasn't in form. So it's a good point, Big Man, because yeah, if he's saying that, and he does tend to support people, it'd be weird to say that about him and then leave him out. But equally, it still wouldn't surprise me to see Jimenez in there because he is a better player. Equally, I've spoken to a few of my Fulham mates, and everyone's really dreading this game. Everyone's dreading it. And they're like, look, we're a good team. We're a really good team. And most of the time, we're pretty trustworthy. They're like, but this is not going to be fun. This could be painful. I think like the way that Arsenal play, they just have the potential to prey on every weakness that Fulham have.
I feel like Smith Rowe might have a knock as well. I don't think that's been reported, but just watching the game, he was struggling and then went off a couple of minutes later. And I wonder if he's not, 2 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be annoying. Obviously, ex-Arsenal. Reece Nelson went off and he had an injury as well. So Reece Nelson, he won't be seen.
Holly Shand with the raid. Sorry, Dean, to interrupt, but we've got a keyword in the chat.
Thanks,
what does Darragh mean? What does this mean? What does Darragh
mean? Maybe it's somebody's name. We need to be told. What is this code name that we've got jumped into the chat? I love it because it means we've got loads of people coming on board though.
There's no Darrahs that play in the Premier League, is there? She's not like brought in a Darragh Omani to her midfield. Do you know what? We've got some great questions in the chat. We're going to come to OP Talent's question first. Then we're going to go to Michael and discuss Burmo and Odegaard. And FPL teams asked about Enzo as well. We need to discuss Enzo versus Rodgers as budget midfielders. So guys, loads to get through. Storm Darragh. Is it Storm Darragh? Is that the name of the storm? I should know that.
Oh, is
Storm Darragh is hitting the UK in the next few hours. I think south of Wales and West Country is going to be hit. There's a red warning. Yeah, it's a red warning. You don't get red much. You get amber in England. You don't get red warnings. So yeah, apparently that's a thing. Thank you.
What a life you live. What are you getting here? Table service while we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, I've got my my fish finger sandwich.
Oh my god, I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, I'm taking the mick, right? This is the first time I've ever been here, and I've come in and got Wi-Fi. Can I use your bathroom to get changed? And can I've got 3 minutes.
They don't even do food, and they've made you lunch.
It's amazing.
Yeah, tip is coming their way. So yeah, good to see so many.
Johnny, just one point before we move on from the conversation. So basically, from what I gather and what Dean is saying, I think the FPL repercussions from now on in are that, for example, if you have 8 playable attackers and you can afford to bench Jimenez, then I think he's probably worth benching, because the next 2 fixtures are tough anyway, Arsenal and Liverpool. But then the Moneyball fixture is Southampton at home in game week 17, where you'd expect Fulham to do really well. So if you have Jimenez and you can afford to bench him this week, I think he's probably worth keeping. But if you have a structure where Jimenez has to play every week, then I think he's probably worth selling because the minutes are up in the air, and without any further information, it's sort of tough to count, especially considering the next two fixtures. So I think that's probably the play over there.
Big man,
Yeah.
I'm not very good at FPL, but I'm really good at predicting team news. And
that's
I
supposed
said
to be my job, mate.
No, I mean mine's uncalculated punts that just happen to sometimes fall my way. Where I go, I'll eat my hat if that guy doesn't start, and I've got a good record with it. I've not got a good record this season or for a few of good FPL points, which is a shame, seeing as that's my job. But I said to Big Man on Wednesday, "Are you confident Jimenez starts tonight?" I knew he'd be better. I knew Muniz would come in. I thought it was obvious. And again, I think I'm going to go ahead and say Jimenez comes back in. It's a big man. You've got my vote of confidence. He starts this weekend.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Well,
No
I'm
worries.
benching him anyway, so it's fine.
I know. But he's still first choice, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get
we
it.
should answer OP Talents.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope he gets his place in the side, because that's going to be another fire that I'll have to put out. And at that price, there's not too many people you can jump to. I think Evan Nilsson is probably the one I'll get to if need be, because he's the standout one at that price. Apart from João Pedro, who a lot of people already own. So I think that will probably be a very popular transfer of people in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
How do we
absolutely.
feel about
Let's do
OP
this.
Talents question? Yeah. Go on,
Yeah,
give it a go.
doing Haaland, Haaland to Isak and Mbermo to Salah. Third free transfer, Welbeck to João Pedro or Gabriel Trent or Roll. I mean, what's my feeling on this? I'd probably go João Pedro one, but what do we think about Trent? I mean, big man, you're probably more of a Trent fan than I am, but what would your feeling be?
Yeah, I'm a huge Trent fan. I don't think I'd sell Gabriel though. I think he's worth keeping simply because of his goal threat and how good Arsenal are. So even if he misses the odd game this week, I'm fine sort of having him for a while. So I don't think I'd sell Gabriel for Trent, even though I love Trent. And I actually feel that Fulham could be a bit of a banana skin fixture for Arsenal, Dean. I mean, I generally think that Fulham could score over there, and Arsenal might not win. I'm not exactly seeing it as a fixture where Arsenal are going to win and steamroll Fulham and win 3 or 4-0. I think it's going to be a much tighter game than that, and I won't be surprised if Fulham got a point or even one. So even if Gabriel misses out this week, my point being that it's not exactly a huge deal. Yeah, in his position, I think getting João Pedro sort of makes sense. We don't exactly know the deal with Welbeck. He sort of picked up a knock. But I really want to sort of touch upon the other two transfers that he was suggesting, because there are two school of thoughts over here. So the first school of thought is that, it's obvious Haaland is not form, Salah's in form. You make the transfer like, Jani did a couple of weeks ago, and eventually, basically, he sort of, let's say, succumbed to his losses and accepted defeat, right? The other school of thought is that now that you've lost by 80 to 90 points, what's the point of going back?
Double
Because the
down.
only way you're gonna gain rank is by doubling down, right? So I'm not exactly sure what's the right play over here. I mean, obviously, in general, if I was playing,
Did we just lose him?
to
I thought
be,
that was me.
then
Oh, no.
that would be a completely different decision. So I think it's a very difficult call, actually.
Yeah, I think I like the plan of moving away from Haaland still, and I think getting Trent is perfect.
But can I just say something? This storm. I mean, people were suggesting like the Merseyside derby might be called off.
Yes,
Do
I read a report
you got to
actually.
mute?
I read a report.
Can we Google that? Is that because the chat's saying
And I'm
it,
looking it
yeah.
up now. I'm
Is
looking
that
it up
bad?
on Twitter to see what people are saying. Because obviously, like people from Liverpool will be tweeting about this. I'll just read out some random ones. Storm Darragh is now a red warning for some parts of the UK. Liverpool is currently under amber, with Saturday morning and lunch predicted to see heavy rain and 70-mile-per-hour winds. The Merseyside derby is certainly at some risk of being postponed. Anyone attending the Everton game on Saturday needs to see the weather forecast. 70 to 80-mile-an-hour winds in Liverpool. Serious problem. They need to communicate this in good time if it's going to be called off.
Yeah.
This sounds dangerous. I mean, we have got
fan
Salah
safety.
to consider.
Is that
Fan
the biggest
safety,
issue?
definitely.
And that's what I was going to sort of come to.
Yeah, go on.
That if they're sort of planning on postponing the game, surely they announce it by tonight because the fans are traveling and it's obviously not exactly optimal to call it off tomorrow.
They can call it off tomorrow because 90% of the crowd are coming from the area, or 80%, say. Because all the Liverpool fans mostly will already be there. And Everton, apart from they definitely have contingents of fans that come from Ireland, say, and stuff, and they won't be travelling by the sound of it. But it just sounds like, I mean, that's a serious wind. That's a serious wind. And if it's torrential rain as well, then that game will be in severe doubt. So, I mean, what do we do in these situations? How do you treat these situations whereby we have to consider that the game is in doubt and Mo Salah as a captaincy option is suddenly a little more precarious? Do you just have to? Is it just about nailing that vice captain and then making sure that first sub is just like actually a good one that is feasibly going to be?
And if you're torn on decisions this week, like buying Trent, maybe, or Gomez, maybe you just put that on hold for a week. I don't see a world in which the game would be called off the night before that. I'm trying to think of any games that we can remember in the Premier League where games have been called off. I remember one, was it Burnley Spurs, not that a few years back? I think I had Captain Kane. But usually they're fairly late calls because they will do everything they can to keep the game on. So I'd imagine, I know it's the early kickoff, but there'd still been an announcement by like 10 a.m. and it's a 12:30 kickoff. But definitely don't be bringing in Liverpool, Everton players this week. I mean, most of us, and definitely obviously don't captain and vice captain in the same fixture, but we try not to do that anyway. It was for Snow, I think. Yeah, disgusting.
Yeah.
Just says in the chat,
I'm watching
anyone.
I think there are three major repercussions or takeaways from this. Two of them have already been discussed. Firstly, have a good vice captain. Secondly, I mean, I wouldn't say don't buy Liverpool players this week, but I would probably not buy them tonight, even if Trent is rising, which he's supposed to. So he's not someone you bring in ahead of the price rise because the game is at risk of being called off. So even if you want to bring in those players, just wait till 10 minutes before the deadline so that you have maximum information available. And the third big takeaway is that if this game is to be called off, we're likely to have a Liverpool double game week with Everton being one of those fixtures, and Salah could be a potential triple captaincy option later on in the season.
Yeah. I'm just watching a video. Nick pointed out that Everton's new stadium is getting flooded, and I've just watched the video.
That is bad.
And it's pouring in through the new stadium roof.
That was last night.
So if you can get through that, then Anfield is going to be in trouble because that's a lot older, surely.
We also can't forget the games in the same area, right? Like if we're saying Liverpool is in doubt, well, what about the games in Manchester? And United, I'm guessing, do they play Sunday? They usually do.
Play Saturday night.
No, they play Saturday night, yeah.
And City are away, but Man United are at home. So straight away, you're like, oh, I'm thinking vice captain Bruno. Maybe I'm not thinking vice captain Bruno. Do I want to? If we think that Liverpool's at risk, then United is.
Merseyside's right on that water, though, isn't it? And it's like I mean, obviously we'll have to keep an eye on it, but it seems like this one particularly, this Merseyside derby, is going to be a dodgy one. Where's Mustafa, says Maliki. I wasn't on the stream the other day when he appeared, made a guest appearance, but I did see it because my little boy had put your show on, guys, and he was like, "Dad, who's that?" And I was like, "That, guys, is the boss man. That is the main man." So yeah, it was good to see us on with you guys the other day. I enjoyed that.
Does your son take FPL more seriously than you do, Dean? I'm glad he's putting in the hours to watch FPL YouTube.
Mate, very good. So funny because like he was just sat in this room, like on his own, and I just assume he's watching like Fortnite videos or like some random YouTuber. And I come in and he's just sat there watching you three. What are you doing? You're 6 years old. What are you doing?
Hope he's not taking another like -8 for you as he did last time. Mark Nash says, "Love how we've all turned into amateur meteorologists." He's so right. Well done, Mark. It's a bit like
when part of the fun, isn't it? This is as much fun as like, this is what FPL is all about.
It's the big talking point of the week. We will actually probably change the description of this video just to get some clicks on catch up to something like Liverpool versus Everton in doubt, ? Exclamation mark, question mark. I mean, we have discussed it for 20 minutes, so we probably should.
And look, if it's who would your vice captain be? Like, who are if outside of Salah? That's probably the best place to go. Because
I'm going to go Palmer.
You go Palmer. See, at the moment I've got it set to Saka, and that's mainly because all of my Fulham fans are Saka-fearing Fulham fans. Like everyone's like, oh, I hope he's not out there. Like it's funny, you go to Premier League football matches and you should be hoping to see all of the best players and be like, oh, this is going to be interesting to see how good he really is in real life. Nobody wants to see Saka in real life because he's actually going to tear them apart. So big man's gone for Palmer. I've got Saka at the moment, but I might change that because Palmer is playing Tottenham. They seem in complete disarray at the moment, seeing that their manager and their fans are having arguments. G, what about you? Was your vice or would your backup be to Salah?
I mean, London feels like a fairly safe place in terms of the red warning. If they was playing Southampton, though, another coastal city, you might be or town, you might be like, oh, don't know, do I want to go with 2 coastal towns for the captaincy? Maybe not. Different parts of the country. Let's continue with the weather front. I don't know. I always thought this week my vice would be Bruno, just as a punt, but you never really take your vice seriously. Knowing Bruno is playing on the Saturday, quite close to Liverpool, Palmer. If it's Palmer or Saka, it's Palmer for me. I like Chelsea versus Spurs. We had fun there last year, 5-2 or something. I mean, they had like 9 men in the end, but Postecoglou's
Tottenham were good at home. They're just terrible away.
What, Spurs? They lost to Ipswich
at home.
They lost to Ipswich at home a couple of weeks ago. Captain Solanke, it was horriendous.
Yeah, I mean, apart from that one.
Go on, big man. What are you saying? If anyone
has
I was
just going to say
observation about not observation or reservation. If anyone doesn't like me eating, please say in the chat and I'll stop because it is quite rude. But I'm starving and I'm on the clock, so just let me know. I am muting myself. But if you rather I don't stuff my face during the stream, I'm happy to pause it. Sorry, big man.
I was saying that I think Palmer is actually a good differential captain this week. I mean, I'm probably too scared after what has happened in midweek to bet against Salah. But let's say if Salah wasn't in this ridiculous run of form, I think Palmer would have challenged him for captaincy simply because of the number of injuries that Spurs have. I think this fixture, I agree with Johnny. This should be a high scoring fixture, and I would back Chelsea to probably win it like 3-1 or 4-2 or something of the sort. I expect it to be very high scoring.
Postecoglou is gone. He will be gone.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. Because what will happen is that stadium will completely turn on a back of a result like that. And Daniel Levy does not want any criticism coming his way. It's happened however many times in the past. And as soon as that place turns, he's like, whoa, this guy's gone because I don't want this landing on my feet. And that's what will happen. And I would be pretty confident, actually, that would happen. I mean, Postecoglou looked rattled. I don't think he could really believe the confrontation that he'd just been in with the fans and that they're talking to him in that way. I always find it a bit much when I see a manager being called out like that, and I find it a bit awkward and a bit much. But I think that would destroy him if they were to lose by 3 or 4. Like that will be the end.
Someone's getting sacked this weekend, though. I know it's the Monday night game, but West Ham Wolves, like. Who do we fancy to be the first sacking? Like Postecoglou, Gary O'Neill, probably the favourite would be Lopetegui, right? Although if West Ham
unless he wins,
how do we see that game going?
He's been in this situation 3 times already since being West Ham manager, and every time he gets the win that extends his stay. I mean, it's a complete waste of time, because he's not going to be good enough for this job, and the fans have already decided they don't like him. But, we've now got to the stage where, as I understand it, he's basically begged them not to sack him, right? And they've agreed, right? And I say begged like I'm exaggerating. I don't think it is that much of an exaggeration from what I've heard.
We don't exaggerate on this channel.
Unless it's about our rank sometimes. So... he's got to perform now. He's almost gone on his knees to David Sullivan and said, please don't do this to me. Give me another opportunity. I promise I'll win the next game. It's against my old team as well. I promise I can't lose to them. They're rubbish. And David Sullivan is terrible at making decisions. And he always likes to give people the benefit of the doubt because he doesn't want to just be a knee-jerk sacking owner. And he's done that. But in the meantime, we've got the situation where Graham Potter has emerged as a real candidate again. West Ham had actually decided a few weeks back that Graham Potter wasn't going to be a candidate for this job. But now he is. And there are 1 or 2 people basically trying to encourage Sullivan to take Graham Potter. I'll talk about that another day if and when it happens. We can't explain why that's happened. But yeah, so he's back in the frame as a potential to take over. Of the two, I'll be honest, I think Gary O'Neill is better. I think Lopetegui is fine elsewhere. I don't think the Premier League is clearly made for him. I think that he is going to need to go back to La Liga or something and figure that out. But this ain't going to work for him. And Gary O'Neill, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he can pull a result out here. But Lopetegui, dead man walking, but these are the times he does pull out results.
He did went to Newcastle.
That's what I was going to come to, because it's
go on, big man.
Because there's so much at stake. I think it's going to be a fixture which is going to be very boring, dull, and I won't be surprised to, even though both defenses are really poor, I won't be surprised to see both managers basically settling for a point, like a 0-0 or a 1-1 type game. I don't particularly see this game being very high scoring.
Yeah.
Cunha, Aït-Nouri, you keep him in. They're popular Wolves assets. I've got a benching dilemma between Solanke and Cunha. I mean, should we see our teams? Let's go to our teams now.
Yeah,
sure. We have half an hour left, so
also want to discuss some Burmo and Enzo as two things we said we'll get to. Maybe we can do that after our teams. Oh, maybe Big Man's Wi-Fi's gone. No, he's back.
No,
I'm here. I'm still here.
When you went on Wednesday, it was like that. It was like your connection was really good, and then out of nowhere, it was like, oh, where's he gone? Dean, you've got $1 million in the bank. Loads asking about my food, by the way. It's a fish finger roll with tartar sauce. And it's big, so sorry, guys. I'm only halfway through. I'm trying to take it slow and not chomp in front of you.
In the meanwhile, we'll discuss Dean's team first.
Yeah.
So, Dean,
thank God.
Well, first and foremost, I mean, I knew I was having a bad game week last week, so I hadn't really looked at my point score. So I've just looked now to see what it ended up being. And it got to 52 points in the end, which thanks to Kirkes keeping his clean sheet against Tottenham, it didn't turn out to be quite as bad as it could have been. But it really wasn't a good game week. In fact, Big Man, I noticed you've got above me in our little league. So congrats on getting the jump on me. And you're like, what, 11 points ahead
I
of me
needed
now.
a Saliba and Mykolenko jammy haul together. Dean, you were sort of miles ahead of me, so
to
get there.
Well, you still had him, and it still counts. So it doesn't matter how you get these points, does it? You still got there. But
I'm actually surprised, Dean. You had Saka captain this week.
I did, yeah, I did.
Over Palmer. What made you take that decision?
Because I think Man United aren't very good when they come up into these matches, and I just thought Saka would tear them apart. I mean, obviously, it's turned out to be wrong. I actually wish I'd just gone with Salah. Like that was my big takeaway. Actually, was just like, why am I going against Salah at the moment? Like, he is the best player in the Premier League right now, isn't he? Apart from this is the thing. Last week, I was like, I did this video like Saka is the best player in the Premier League at the moment. Like, he's unstoppable. But then I watched this game. I was like, oh no, hang on. Salah actually is the most effective footballer in the Premier League right now, and that's why I should be picking Salah as my captain and not Saka. So I think I confused myself is what happened, Big Man. And Salah's performance against Newcastle, I thought was brilliant. The passes around the box, his shot against the bar, his goals, like a fantastic performance from Mo Salah. And Saka, yeah, it was a silly pick from me, to be honest, when I had two other much better options to pick. So, yeah, some regret over that one. And I won't be captaining him again, I don't think. Like I say, as you look at this here, Saka to get the armband against Fulham, that's just been left over from the last game week. But yeah, do I go Salah? I mean, let's assume for a minute that the Merseyside derby is happening. I think we'll get news on this later on, by the way. So everyone keep an eye on this Merseyside derby.
What's the poll saying, Dean? Is there a poll running? I can't see it, but I think there might be a poll running on our YouTube channel.
Oh, is there? Let me have a look.
I think we were going to do a poll. Do you think it will go ahead?
So yes, say 69% of people. No, say 30. But that everybody is completely guessing. Nobody has any idea as to whether the game's.
We're all experts. It's a bit like when the boxing comes along. Like, we're all experts when like Tyson Fury's fighting, and it's like, oh, you just don't watch boxing much, but you're an expert because there's a fight on.
Exactly. So, like, when I look at my team now, like, defensively, I'm actually reasonably happy with it. I think it's fine. A Burmo home to Newcastle, I'm actually fine with that. Chris Wood against Man United, I don't love, and I don't love that. But I'm also not like it's not the stupidest thing in the world, is it? That Chris Wood could get a goal against Man United. So that's plausible. I mean, big man, what would your take be on what's missing from my team right now? Because I feel like I'm not in brilliant shape, to be honest.
I mean, I think Welbeck could be a bit of a concern as well, because if he's picked up a knock, then yeah, I think you probably need to get João Pedro in.
Yeah.
And I think I'd probably sell Welbeck if he's not fit. I don't think it's a terrible fixture for Wood, to be honest. I think Forrest will probably nick a goal and he could be involved. He was very unlucky not to score against City as well. So yeah, I think your team looks. I mean, it's not in terrific shape, but it looks all right. You can put Brennan over one of the defenders as well, right? Go 3-5-2 in that case.
Yeah, I mean, which defender would you kick out of that lot?
Kirkes, I think Ipswich are decent at home and they should score. And
Would you?
it
Yeah.
might not matter. It might not matter anyway, because if Gabriel misses out, then he's going to come in.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
Do we think Gabriel will miss out, guys? What do we make on that? It's a big one this week. He's owned by most of the people watching, I'd have thought.
Yeah, I mean, it seems a real chance rather than one of these Arteta where he just throws one in. It does seem like there's a real possibility, doesn't it? I haven't seen the team news today, obviously, because I've only 6 a.m. or whatever here, but it did seem to be a genuine potential that he would be missing. I mean, who would be the best replacement for Gabriel if people were looking to switch him out? Would it be Timber still? Is that where you would be looking to swap him out for, big man?
I think Trent, if you can afford to go there. Otherwise,
But he's not playing. The game's going to be called off.
He's now a riskier buy than he was half an hour ago, isn't he, Trent?
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, I still think Gabriel is worth keeping. I won't sell.
You won't sell? Okay.
I'll tell you what, though, Dean, you have got $1 million in the bank, which gets you, I don't know, you could sell to be fair, you can sell Aina, Dean, or Mazraoui, but you can go to Timber. You got who's 5.6, who does it like a great buy. But yeah, I think you could easily roll as well. And Burmo's maybe the one you give another week to. I don't think Burmo's a sell when he's got a home fixture, but Chelsea away next up and then a tough run of fixtures. And Burmo's probably on borrowed time, is he?
Yeah, but I mean, I had him in mind for these home, it's the home games that you want him for. So it's, if he doesn't score this week, then he's not. I wouldn't really want him in my team for the Chelsea one next, but then you would probably want him in for the Forest game after that, because Brentford just score so many goals at home. I know that he wasn't among the goals like in their last big win, but like surely that can't continue. Like there's no evidence from the past that Mbeumo's not going to be regularly amongst the goal contributors. So yeah, it's interesting. John says rolled in Christmas rotation is brutal. I have to admit, it was a massive oversight on my behalf coming into these midweek games, how I'd not considered how many changes teams would make. It was like the midweek games were completely different lineups to how I expected. And I didn't really anticipate there would be that many changes made. I think it was because there was an international break, obviously not that long ago. Teams haven't had that busy a schedule up to now. So I thought actually, they can be a little riskier right now. Like there's no need to rest people yet. But a lot of people were, and a lot of managers were very cagey with their lineup. So that is a good point. Chris Crimmins, thank you very much for your $1.99. I appreciate it very much. He said, I sent a blank message. What a donut. But help, I've got a benching migraine, not just a headache. Bench 1, Rodgers, Semenyo, Jackson, Havertz, or João Pedro.
Okay, the big one here is, do we think, and we'll remove the questions so we see Big Man's face, Chris, but we're going to answer it based on, do you think Rodgers and João Pedro, two really popular assets, everyone owns one of them, pretty much. I own both. Do we think they start this weekend? I'm going to go out and say I'm pretty confident on, I don't know, 70, 80% confident on Rodgers and 60%, 70% confident on João Pedro. Big Man, if you were to put percentages against those two players starting this weekend, where are you at?
I think 80% each. I'm very confident that both of them play, because Rodgers was Will's best player in midweek, and that performance has basically cemented his place in the side. So I think he should play. João Pedro got taken off around the 75, 76 minute mark, and yeah, I mean, given especially the fact that Welbeck is injured, I think yeah, João Pedro should play as well.
And then to answer who would you bench out of all of those then, big man? If you think they'll start, you've obviously got Rodgers, João Pedro, Semenyo, Jackson Havertz.
Yeah, it's a really tough one to answer. I mean, I think I would probably go. I think I'd probably go Semenyo, I guess, Semenyo or Havertz, but it's a really difficult one to call. Actually, has to be one of those in my opinion because of the
Semenyo
away
is away.
fixture.
Yeah, I think he's written that as Semenyo's got a home fixture against Ipswich. But Chris, just so you're aware, he is away at Ipswich, and I think I'm with big man. It'd be Semenyo. So, Dean, any other final thoughts for your team? You're going to captain Salah as it stands. Your vice is going to be on Saka. You could make a transfer, but you're not sure yet.
No, my vice won't. I think my vice will be Palmer based on what you two are saying, actually. Yeah, I think I might switch that up. Yeah. Here's a question. If tonight there is like an actual warning that Everton-Liverpool is not happening, like there seems like there's a high chance that game is going to be off, do you still keep Salah?
Unless you've got like 5 transfers and you're happy burning one for a 1 week punt.
Yeah, because it's going to cost you 2 transfers selling and buying him back, and you're going to buy him back at a much higher price, I assume.
Yeah, you got to keep him. I mean, unless you can't get an 11 out because you've got 3 Everton players and 3 Liverpool. But again, you haven't. I can't imagine anyone's got more than double.
People do,
yeah. It'll be interesting. I can't wait. I love a bit of drama. The fact it's the early kickoff is fun, and it does help. The fact that the game most at threat is obviously the Merseyside derby, and that happens to be the early kickoff. So deadline streams tomorrow, and like going right up to 11 o'clock. We're gonna know. We're gonna know before the deadline. There's no way that game's getting called up in an hour and a half before kickoff. It will be surely beyond that. Thank you, Dean. We'll see your Twitter for your team, no doubt, tomorrow morning, or your Instagram. So do check Dean out on social platforms. Whilst you're there, guys, do like the stream. Very few likes. We haven't asked you to hit those buttons yet today. We don't like to ram it down your throats, but 41 minutes into the stream, we would welcome some subscribes. We would welcome some likes if you fancy hitting those buttons. Big man, we're going to come back to your team and just show mine next, just because I'm on borrowed time, and then we can finish with yours. My decisions this week are all around the bench. I sent this team in before Solanke played on Thursday night, and I've said it for weeks. I've had enough of Solanke. I can't wait to sell him. My plan is to sell Solanke and then get money to go up to Trent, but I need 2 transfers to do that. I'll do that next week. So this week, I'm thinking of benching Solanke and starting Cunha. Do you guys think I've got that right? Everything else is set in my team. Like, it's not a great defence this week. It's not ideal having Fabianski, but I'm set. Salah captain. It will probably be Palmer vice, given the fact that Bruno also plays in the Northwest. But I think Solanke needs to come out for Cunha. Who would you start, big man, given the choice?
I mean, I'd probably go Solanke because, as mentioned earlier, I sort of expect the West Ham Wolves game to be low scoring, and I expect the Chelsea Spurs game to be very high scoring. So simply based on the number of goals, I would play Solanke over Cunha. I think you have it right, actually.
Oh dear, I'm sick of Solanke. 6 points is his best FPL total all season, other than that one Hawley ad. Dean, order Cunha versus Solanke?
Yeah, I mean, on form, I'd go with Cunha. West Ham obviously pretty diabolical. I think Tadebo's had a fallout, as I understand it. So Tadebo probably won't be playing for West Ham.
Oh, really?
That's one of the deeper issues that they've got, is that like their best players don't like the manager. So you got Tadebo, you've got Fulkrug, you've got Kudus. They've all had problems and friction so far with the boss. So that's another deeper issue that West Ham are looking at the moment. And yeah, Cunha could prey on any vulnerabilities that are shown in that West Ham defence. I mean, look, you've got to remember as well with Cunha, it's a big season for him. If Wolves can get their season turned around, he'll sign a new contract, and it'll be a big contract, and he'll be happy to stay. But there's also a massive chance that Cunha gets the chance to make a big transfer at the end of this season, and that's why he's also a really good asset at the moment, because he's got the chance to really raise his status in the game. So it seems, as we sit here right now, like almost a no-brainer to put Cunha in over Solanke. The problem is, mate, this season makes absolutely no sense. And I almost get to the point now where at the weekend where I'm like, right, whatever I think is logical, I'm going to go for the opposite outcome, and I'm going to go for that to happen, because that's what's happening. You know, Wolves, 1 minute they're scoring 4 against Fulham, the next minute they're getting battered. So it just, who knows?
Yeah, it feels like a bit of a coin toss. I think I'm going to go Cunha in the 11. I am sick of Solanke. Guys, do not go anywhere. I've got to run, but you don't have to. Stay and watch the last 15 minutes with Dean and Big Man. Big Man's going to show us his team. They're going to do a Q&A. We'll be back as normal next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah, I'm going to love you and leave you. Maliki, thank you for your super chat earlier. Maliki said, where is Mustafa? Mustafa will be back on this channel at some point. He might even come in my slot right now. Who knows? But for now, guys, I'm going to say goodbye to Dean and goodbye to Big Man and goodbye to all of you lovely chasers. Good luck this game week, and stay tuned for more from Big Man and more from Dean. See you guys.
That's one, mate.
Good luck, Johnny. See you.
Cheers, guys.
Enjoy. Big Man, we've got an update here. We've got a local who is close to Liverpool. He said, I live 15 minutes walk from Goodison Park. Because of where Liverpool is, a harbour estuary, we tend not to be battered by winds. That's good insight. I mean, that is great insight to the weather here on Chasing Green Arrows. Gav, give us your prediction. I said, here we go. It says, even if the storm comes, it's unlikely to be strong enough to call off the game. So there's massive optimism in the local area that this game is going ahead. So that is really good insight for us here on Chasing Green Arrows.
Yeah, coming to my team, if we can sort of bring it up on screen, I'll sort of run you through my team. This feels like one of those weeks where, I don't really have any major dilemmas to address and I can afford to roll a transfer this week. So that's going to be the plan. I need some flexibility in the weeks to come. I'm benching Raul as mentioned. I might even have him second on my bench. Porro isn't any better, but at least I know that Porro will start. And Mikalenko, of course, because of his fixture, will be last on the bench. I'm going to give Mboma another week. Mm-hmm. I think the potential replacements, for example, Eze, Semenyo, they have similar points potential this week, Dean. And like you mentioned, Brentford are a completely different team home and away. So you'd expect them to score at least this week. And if they do, then Mboma could be involved. I know that, his XGI and his data has basically dropped off a cliff.
Yep.
But over a larger sample size, over the course of the season, he's still been producing good numbers. So very similar to the way his data has dropped off, it could easily go on the opposite direction again. So
yeah,
I'm hopeful.
Do you think it's because of Shard coming into the team? Like, what do you think? What do you think is down to Mbeumo like changing?
Yeah, he's playing wide. He's playing much wider than he was. It's very noticeable even when you watch the game. So the main goal threat is coming from Wissa and Shada, while Mbeumo is basically on the flank, which is not exactly ideal. But he's on penalties. You never know. He can get something.
Yeah.
Solanke, I know he's getting increasingly unpopular in the community because he's blanking, but personally, I think he's a set and forget in my team for a while. Reasons being that he's a 90-minute man. I have bigger issues to address in my team. And Spurs, irrespective of what you said that that they're very flaky, but they tend to score goals in most games. I know last night was an aberration, but they're still fifth for XG, and Solanke's numbers are still right up there among the top forwards for XG. So I'm going to give him another go. I think there are bigger issues that I'll need to address. For example, not owning Trent is something I'm looking at, bringing him in the weeks to come. Similarly, maybe potentially addressing Raul. But apart from that, I think the team looks fine. I'll have double Arsenal defense and I'll play Dunk. It was a relief to see him play last night, which means that he should be good for the coming week.
Yeah. Look, Tottenham, I mean, they've got 17 goals at home this season. Only Brentford have scored more than that. So that is reason for optimism for Tottenham. They are the 5th best home team in the division at the moment. And there is an element of trust when they are at home. But I think some Tottenham fans are starting to give up a little on whether they can trust this team, because they are just so inconsistent, and they might be able to beat Man City whenever they play them, but they don't know who else that they're going to turn up against. And that is a real problem. This is a game that they really have to turn up in. Like, it means so much to the fan base, this Chelsea game. The two sets of fans hate each other. Chelsea have obviously always had the most joy in this fixture, and in terms of glory and success. So it'd be a really big scalp. The only thing I guess with Solanke is that like he does drop off a bit. He's very I like Solanke a lot. I only really see him scoring from like picking up the bits and pieces in the box. So like a save, he'll be following it in, or he'll just find himself in a nice situation off the back of something else, rather than necessarily something being created for him. But I mean, I guess that's why he's more of a traditional 9, because he's a bit of a lurker, and he can make the most of moments when nobody else is following in. So I don't blame you, to be honest, for looking to stick by him, because players like him are worth sticking by, because just as everybody else has given up on them, they're going to continue to score goals at some point. It's a bit like Isak, how everybody was giving up on Isak, and then suddenly like, oh yeah, he can score goals. Like, yeah, it's a striker.
Bruno
Yeah.
was another example.
Yeah,
Right.
These players come back.
I mean, he's basically a glue guy. I'm gonna set and forget in my team for a while, barring injury. So I'll see what. I mean, next week will be interesting, because I might look at selling Mbomo and potentially bringing in Trent, but even that's still sort of up in the air. I think, given the position of the team, I might again be in a position to roll a transfer next week. So I'm hoping nothing else comes up. But yeah, enough about my team. I think we should take some questions from the listeners. And
we will.
If you could send some questions in, that would be appreciated. Yeah, sorry,
a question
Dean.
that keeps coming up. There's two big things people are asking. Alex Iwobi and Ashley Young are like all through the chat today. They are two players that everybody's saying, should I be getting Ashley Young and should I be getting Alex Iwobi? So what is your take on both of those players?
Yeah, my take on Ashley Young is that when you look at the fixtures for Everton, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, that's the next 4. So I think that pretty much answers the question. I mean, I haven't seen a worse run for a team in light years, really. So yeah, definitely no to an Everton defender. Iwobi's been doing well in recent weeks. I think you're in a better position to sort of answer that question. I mean, he's pretty nailed.
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely play, obviously, and he's exploiting spaces that open up, and he's becoming an integral part of the team. Probably Fulham's player of the year so far, maybe him and Anthony Robinson. So, yeah, from that aspect, sure. But they're playing against Arsenal. So, I don't know what would really be expecting from Alex Iwobi. Maybe he can get a goal, but that's it. It's like a maybe for a goal. So, I don't know that he's worth necessarily bringing into your team in this moment because of that. Once you even look beyond that, the next game is Liverpool away. Like, do you really want a Fulham asset for Arsenal home, Liverpool away? I would suggest not. After that, then sure, when it's Southampton at home, you've got Chelsea, you've got Bournemouth, Ipswich. Like, Alex Iwobi in that stretch of games, much more sensible. But for the next two, it's very difficult to see what his returns would actually be. Name says start 2 of João Pedro, Mitoma versus Leicester, Visser versus Newcastle. I mean, I would go João Pedro and Visser. What about you?
I think I'd go João Pedro and Mitoma, because I can see Brighton winning comfortably against Leicester. I think it's going to be a 3-1, 3-0. I mean, I watched the Leicester versus West Ham game, and West Ham were very, very unlucky not to have won that game, actually, because they had tons of chances which weren't converted. So I just don't rate the Leicester defense at all, really. So I would double up on the Brighton attack if possible.
Yeah. Heather says Pickford or Fabianski. Wow. I mean, that's not a great dilemma to have. Pickford's had a good season. I'm not saying he hasn't, but like you say, he's got some very difficult games coming up right now, and that's what makes that a bit more tricky, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think we've got to go Fabianski, especially this week, given the fixture. Is KDB an option? I think he's too pricey, and I mean, he's not exactly hit the heights of the previous seasons as well. So I don't think he's going to be value for money.
We don't even know if he's trustworthy of getting minutes. Like, you know, it's KDB. They're going to manage him very carefully, and they cannot risk him picking up another injury. Yeah. So Crystal Palace away. I don't know. Knowing that they're also playing Juventus and Man United coming up, like, are they necessarily going to play Kevin De Bruyne away at Crystal Palace? I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know if I would trust that. B says a -4. Raul and Bumo. Is that in Burma? To Watkins and Enzo Dibbling or Ahmad.
I think if you're in a position to bench Raul, you bench him.
Yeah,
I won't sell Mbomo this week. I think
I wouldn't either.
if you're looking to sell Raul, then maybe you can look at Evalinson, and that is considering that you don't have an eighth attacker. If you do have an eighth attacker, just bench Raul and roll the transfer.
Yeah, I agree. Bench one of Dean, Gabriel, Hall, and Van Heck. Ooh.
Hall, I think.
You're
Hall
going to
has the
say
toughest
Hall
fixture.
probably is the one, isn't he? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely not the first
Toughest
two.
fixture. Yeah,
but
Van
it's
Heck
quite
even has Leicester, so yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely true. Do you want to take this one? Bench one from Mbermo, Vissa,
Sure.
and Rogers.
We're getting some difficult questions in terms of benching dilemmas this week. I mean, it's very interesting. I think I'd play Mbomo because he's the penalty taker. I'd play Rogers as well, given the fixture. I think I'd bench Wissa.
Would you? IPL Freddie, Kinate and Nori out for Trent and Timber for -4. Yeah, I guess. Is it worth a -4?
It's very rare that you see me advocating a hit,
Yeah.
but I think this could
You think that's
possibly
worth
make
it?
sense. I think so. Because Kanate is not playing, right? I mean, it
Kanate's not
depends on
playing.
who.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the bench that FPL Freddy has, but assuming that he doesn't have a bench, or if he has a really poor bench, then I think bringing in Trent and Timber makes a lot of sense, even if it's for a -4.
Yeah, fair enough. Rogers or Semenyo. I mean, you've been pretty hot on Rogers today, and I think G was as well.
I would like to clarify. I think this week Rogers is much better because of the fixture, but long term, I think Semenyo's minutes are much safer. So I would rather have Semenyo long term. So it depends on. So it depends on if this is a benching dilemma, I'd play Rogers. But if you're buying someone this week for the long run, I think I'd probably go Semenyo.
Yeah, Shiraz is thinking about Watkins as captain. My main concern is his minutes. Well, he's going to be starting the game. He's playing against Southampton, so the chances are he's coming off at like 65 minutes with Aston Villa already 3-0 up, and you'd like to believe that Watkins is going to have a goal behind him for that point. I think Watkins' minutes are fine for this game week. Aston Villa are going to look to absolutely destroy Southampton.
I don't think it's a bad captaincy choice. I think it's fine. This isn't exactly a week where it's too obvious.
No, exactly.
I mean, Watkins could do really well against Southampton. Have exact funds to do Dean to Trent and Vissa to Isak too. Should I go ahead with it? Don't. It's tricky because, as mentioned, there's a slight risk of the Liverpool game being postponed. So if you buy Trent, then you can run the risk of him not showing up at all tomorrow. But if you'll be priced out, then it's a very tough one to say. Next question is from Lennon, bench one, Rogers and Bomo, João Pedro, Cunha. I think I'd probably go Cunha because I expect that game to be low scoring. You can take the next one, Nate.
Yeah, we'll do this from Michael, and then we've got a super chat that's coming as well. Michael says, Gabriel to Trent or Timber on a free to avoid uncertainty. I still have a wild card. Wow, still got his wild card. When are you going to use that, mate? Gabriel to Trent or Timber. I mean, I would personally go Timber because I am not picking Trent all season, so I'm not a good person to ask this question to. But I think most people will go Trent.
Bench Johnson, Semenyo, or Cunha. I think Johnson probably.
Yeah, Johnson's such a hard one. Since I've had Johnson in my squad, I find it so hard to know when to pick him. I don't know what game suits him anymore. Obviously, he had that unbelievable run in the season, but that's gone now. I see a lot of Tottenham fans actually getting quite frustrated at Johnson as well. But thank you very much for the super chat, mate. We do appreciate it. Sushant, would you do next game week? And Burmo, Aitnori, Estupinan to Enzo, Trent, Gabriel for -4, and have a backline of Gvardiol, Trent, Gabriel with midfield threemium. I mean, there's a lot of information to take on board, but if you can quickly program your mind, big man, and how would you address that? Because you're more equipped.
I assume this is for next week. So
Yeah.
I think
Oh, you've cut up there, mate. Let's wait for a second.
Semenyo's minutes.
Oh, sorry, mate. Can you say it again? Your Wi-Fi just cut out for 1 second, so they wouldn't have got the answer.
Yeah, I was saying that I think I'd probably go Semenyo over Enzo next week because I trust Semenyo's minutes more. But I mean, generally, I don't really like taking hits, so it's sort of difficult to say without knowing the rest of the team. But I mean, Guardiola, Trent, Gabriel is obviously very solid.
Yeah, absolutely right. Last couple before we end today's show. Remember, please do give us a like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing today. Tom says 8 Nori, Robinson, Porro and Hall. I need to pick 2. Any ideas? Look, I love Robinson, but we're not playing Arsenal, so I'm not sure I'd go with that one. Oh, it's gone. I can't even remember who the players were now.
Robinson and Hall, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thoughts on Emerson? I mean, West Ham are really poor. I mean, I don't think I'd buy a West Ham defender.
Greater free kicks, but yeah. So yeah, if you could pick 2 of those 2, big man, which are the 2 that you'd pick?
I think I'd probably go stuff. I mean, I definitely won't pick Robinson. It's got to be 2 of the other 3. Yeah. It's really tough to say. I'd probably go Porro and 8 Nuri.
I probably would too, but it doesn't fill me with joy to say that. It's still a bit of trepidation. The last one for today from Michael: Odegaard or Mbermo. One to start, one to bench. I mean, I'm Odegaard all day on that one. I think I do. Honestly,
I'd play the penalty taker.
Yeah, of course you would. I don't blame you for that either. I've just got. Look, maybe I'm being harsh on my own team here, especially the fact we've just beaten Brighton, and that's a good win. But I've just got a feeling that Arsenal will just go and play Fulham off the park this weekend. And
I mean, Dean, Fulham have played, let's say, City this season. They've also played some of the other top sides, and they've mostly beaten them in terms of XG. Spurs very recently. So I mean, I don't get why you're being so pessimistic when Fulham have actually played really well this season, and the underlying data is sort of suggesting similar. Yes, I mean Arsenal are expected to beat Fulham, but it's not exactly.
I've seen these games before a lot of time. Like, look, I think it was last year we beat Arsenal 2-1 on New Year's Eve, and it was amazing. But Arsenal had the feel that they were more vulnerable that day, and I just don't get that feeling at the moment that Arsenal. They just can't drop the points. And I just fear that they are going to carve us open. And it can be done. It really can be done. Like if you look at some of Fulham's games recently, we're playing well. But yesterday, did we totally deserve to win that game in the way that we did? Possibly not. Like it's turned out in our favour. But I don't know that it's 100% convincing. The run that we're on, obviously, draw against Tottenham for that. The Wolves game, Fulham played for 20-25 minutes, the best I've possibly ever seen Fulham play against Wolves, and we lost 4-1. That's the problem. Like, we are still, unfortunately, Fulham. And while I'd love to believe we can finish inside the top 6, well, we won't. And the teams like Arsenal know.
Because you're Fulham.
Yeah, we just got this mindset of we've hit our limit. Like we better ease off now. Maybe one day we'll.
All right, everyone. Thank you for.
Yeah, big man's frozen there. But thank you, everyone, for watching Chasing Green Arrows today. Please do join us again on Monday when I'll be back here with G to look over everything. Again, enjoy the weekend. Stay out of the rain. Watch out for the storm. And make sure you check for updates just in case the Everton-Liverpool game is postponed. We'll catch you next week. Cheers, guys.
Good luck.